Welcome, my darlings. Make yourself comfortable, and I have a tale to tell you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I always enjoy your comments. Now, let us begin. Hello, my darlings. Today I have a short true story for you from Black Cat 1206, and it's entitled Our Childhood Bush House. When we were young, my cousin and I had a bush house at the end of the back garden just before the garden opened up on the heath. Due to me being a full-time wheelchair user from birth, it was Gran's idea that instead of having a tree house that had to be climbed, it would be safer and more practical to have a bush house that all of us kids could use. Even though we protested greatly, as, although I am disabled, I frequently used to climb trees in the local parks and over the heath, with the help of my cousins, obviously. But Gran's word was final, and we never argued with her, as she was a beautiful and lovely matriarch, but also tough as old boots and very scary when pushed. So with that, we busied ourselves on choosing an appropriate bush for our new play area. On selecting a perfect one, Gran delegated tasks to the older boys to clear the outer area of the bush and also make a little hollow inside it, with pieces of spare wood on the ground to serve as basic floor so that my little wheelchair could run safely and easily inside it. Gran was reasonably young at the time, and while the boys were doing the heavy work, she arranged us younger ones in getting furniture, supplies, and accessories to make our new play space cozy and comfortable for us all. A year later, our bush house was in full use. In the daytime, us younger ones played in it after school. On weekends and holidays, and in the evenings and nights, it was a place where the older cousins could have some privacy away from the eyes of Gran and Mum to do whatever they did. Our bush house was cozy, though. We got chairs, beanbags, and floor cushions donated by relatives and friends of the family. We also had a small table that we made a tablecloth for, and our Auntie Jay made some pretty curtains that we hung up the best we could. We even had a cupboard where we kept snacks in, and only when the older boys or Mum was there were we allowed to use the camping stove to heat tinned beans and sausages or pot noodles up and make tea. Gran's bingo friend, Jane, donated a hand-me-down rug. It was shabby and out of date, but we thought it was beautiful. It was slap bang in the middle of summer holidays, probably in early July when this happened. Elle and I were 7, and G was 11. Our older cousin G's brother, A, was there earlier, but by 3 o'clock had grown tired of hanging around with us and had gone out with his mates. The 3 of them were coming back later to make us all dinner on the stove. Elle and I were sitting at the table playing Beggar Your Neighbor with a pack of playing cards that we had got from the living room cupboard, and G was sitting in the corner of the bush house on a beanbag, reading The Secret Garden for the 3rd time. It was just another normal day at home. Nothing unusual or odd occurred until around 4, when we all heard a sound that was at odds with the peaceful scene. It was between a growl, an owl's hoot, and a man mumbling. We weren't particularly outdoorsy kids, being born and raised in the outskirts of urban London. But being bright little girls, we all knew that owls were nocturnal creatures, and the accompanying sounds that were mixed with the hoots didn't come from the same bird. The weird sounds were joined by a furtive and stealthy rustling coming from the back of the bush house. Actually, it was really near to where G was sitting, and she jumped up, stifling a scream by covering her mouth with her hands. We also saw a dark, dog-like size shape through the dense foliage of the back of the bush house, which incidentally led straight onto the beginning of the heath, as I said earlier. The strange thing about this figure was that it was very present, but rather ethereal, almost as if the figure was attempting to hide intentionally. Also, throughout this period, there were no other natural sounds, no birdsong, no insect sounds, and no background human noise. Being right in the center of a council estate, you could always hear people talking, cats revving and dogs barking, all the regular noises of urban community living. But at that time was as if the entire world had paused, and us three were the only ones conscious and present, along with the mysterious figure. We didn't know what to do, but we gathered together, and both G and L took one handle of my wheelchair and pulled me back out of our bush house, not taking our eyes off the translucent figure as we went. When we were free from the bush house and close enough to home for us to feel out of danger and safe, we just looked at each other very doubtfully. We were crapping ourselves. G said suddenly, "Stay here, don't move or speak." She ran to the garden shed and climbed up the sides to the manky, rotting roof. I'd completely lost it, letting out a squeal of utter terror. Quick-witted as usual, Elle put her hand over my mouth and hushed me. Elle and I watched while G looked over the hedgerow which divided our back garden from the beginning of the heath. From our position, her face was clearly visible. G's expression was a mixture of confusion, surprise, and fright, and her pretty brown eyes looked troubled. We waited for G to come back to us before asking her in earnest what she saw. She didn't answer straight away, but when she did, she said, "It was so strange. I didn't see anything. No dogs, no other animals." She paused, her young mind trying to summon the words to explain what she witnessed. "There was a man. I saw the back of him walking away towards the iron fence." My 7-year-old's mind found it hard to comprehend what G was saying, and one look at Elle told me she was experiencing the same. We both said together, "What man, G? What did he look like?" G sighed, biting her lips, a habit she still has today when she is anxious, worried, or trying to explain something tricky or difficult. "I didn't see him properly, his face and all that. I only saw his back. He did have really long, scruffy hair, though." Her eyes wandered over nervously to the end of the garden, leading out to the very public heath. Elle and I followed G's gaze. We all shuddered. Nobody spoke for ages. For a long moment we sat in silence, G and Elle sitting on the back step and me in my wheelchair alongside them. Suddenly I noticed something and exclaimed to the others, "Everything's back to normal. Listen!" We all listened. The regular everyday noise had returned. The world appeared to have resumed business as usual. A while later, A and his 2 mates came back, and sensing some tension from us, they asked us what was up. We did tell them everything, and the 2 of them ran out back to have a look around. They were gone for about 45 minutes. When they returned, they said they didn't see anything. No strange man, no animals, nothing unusual or dodgy at all. We spent the rest of the day hanging out with the boys, eating dinner in the bush house, and later, watching films and eating junk food. We didn't tell Mom about the experience until a few years back, long after we were grown, and we still don't know or can explain what happened that day. So quoth this raven, a fun little story out of childhood. My darlings, do you have any unexplained things that happened when you were young to you? I personally grew up in a haunted house and had many. This story, oh, you know where I'm going. You all know where I'm going with this. It's in England. It could have been the Fae. You know it could have been the Fae. Or possibly close to London, possibly even Hearn himself. Though they did not mention horns. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much to Black Cat 1206 for her lovely story. Have a wonderful day, my darlings. You guys are so awesome. Bye-bye. What? You're still here after the whole story? I really appreciate that, darlings. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. And I always love to hear from you. Have a glorious day, my darlings.